This conference will now be recorded.
Right, let's start today's session. This is the first session of REST API, that is Django REST Framework. And Django REST Framework is not a separate, and it's along with Django only. This is extension of Django. Okay. Before going to discuss about REST API, you must and should aware of Django project creation and how to deal with Django MVC pattern, MVT pattern, like model view template. We already discussed in previous examples. This is just an extension of Django only. So to work with REST API, that is Django REST framework, compulsory Python is mandatory. And Python and Django frameworks are mandatory. Without Python and without Django, we cannot go for REST API. Now you can see REST API. This is also called as DRF. DRF means Django's REST framework. Django REST framework. This is REST API, or else DRF also we can call it as. It stands for Django REST framework. DRF means Django REST framework. Today we'll give complete introduction of Django REST framework. So if time permits, I'll start with programming part also. Let's try to discuss first introduction. In API, what is API stands for? API stands for, you know, that application programming interface. Application programming interface. Okay. So API is a software that enables communication between the two or more applications. What is the advantage of API means? It is a software that enables the application communicate with the two or more applications. What is API means? It is a software. It is a software that enables communication between two or more applications. Our main purpose of API is this is only. API is a kind of software that enables communication between two or more applications. So one application can communicate with other applications. If you want to do this, making communication with one application to other application, compulsory API is required. API stands for application programming interface only. Suppose you can assume that when we are using mobile application, okay, when we are using mobile application, so your application connects to the internet and sends data to a server. Then server retrieves the data and interprets the data, performs the necessary actions, and sends it back to your phone only. Suppose in your mobile device you are using Android application. So Android application can communicate with the internet. That means API. That API can communicate with requested application. For example, if you are opening any Flipkart application using your mobile device, so you are using in your mobile device Android application. That application can communicate with what? Flipkart application through API. API is going to be act as a middleman services. Middleman services means mediator. It will act as a mediator only. Okay. So these are all we are going to do every day. We are making communication with one application to other application. Even just as an example, I discuss like Flipkart, any applications, even banking application also through your mobile device, you can able to open. Nowadays, every transaction or any kind of application or any kind of interaction in our daily basis, what we are doing through API only. From mobile device, we are going to communicate with APIs. APIs can communicate with respect to application. That is. So for one more example, I will tell you. For example, there is one website called reservation system. You have to enter into that website like reservation system. There are lot of reservation systems out there, like railway reservation, airline reservation, bus reservation, and even movie tickets reservation kind of thing. When we hit that link, then directly it will communicate with the respective website. Suppose if you click the link for railway reservation, then it will communicate with IRCTC. If you go for bus ticket, it will communicate with a concerned website like Redbus or Abibus like that. So one web application can communicate with different web applications via API only. These are all communications are going to happen with API only. So in the general web application development everywhere, API creation is mandatory. Through that API, they can able to communicate with your application and they can able to provide services to their customers only. But there are different types of APIs are there, like private API, public API, okay? Different types of APIs are there. That also I'll explain here. So ultimately, what I mean to say, API is nothing but just to making communication with different applications. But applications might be implemented in different technologies. Like sometimes Python-based application can communicate with Java-based applications, and even Java-based application can communicate with .NET-based application. So that is heterogeneous communication. We can say that the application need not to implement on the same technologies like Java means Java to Java application, .NET application to .NET application. That is homogeneous communication. When we communicate with different types of application like .NET to Java, Java to Python, Python to .NET like that, so that is heterogeneous communication. So ultimately, communication medium is processed by using API only. So API is nothing but application programming interface. See how, but in Django point of view, we are using REST framework for API creation, and REST is not reserved for only Django. It's a common services. REST is an architectural pattern. It's a common architectural pattern for anywhere. Even Java programmers also will use RESTful services. Even .NET programmers also they'll use like web APIs. So terminology is different, but purpose is same. When it comes to Django, we use REST API. In Django, we can say REST API. In .NET, we can say web API. Java point of view, we can say RESTful services. So this is API purpose exactly. Communication medium is possible with API. So Django REST is a powerful Django based framework that the developer uses to create the APIs only. In Django web applications, to create an API, we need to use a separate framework called DRF, that is Django REST framework. This REST framework is enabled to communicate with different applications from your Django project. So for that, we are using Django REST framework. You have to install this Django REST framework software separately. How we create Django project at the time of creating, how it's create virtual environment as well as Django installation. Same thing here. Django REST framework also you have to install it, sir. Without the Django REST framework installation, we can't create APIs. Django REST framework allow you to create RESTful APIs, a way to transfer information between interface and database in simple way. In Django REST stands for representational state transfer. What is meaning of REST means REST. REST stands for representational state transfer. This is REST stands for. REST means representational state standard. It is used for web-based architecture for data communication. So only REST services, we cannot build any API. Along with the Django only, we can build API. So to work with REST API, compulsory Django is needed. To work with Django, compulsory Python is needed. So ultimately, if you want to work with REST API things, Python is required, Django is required. Both are required. If anyone is not there, then we cannot able to build APIs clearly. So this is about a basic introduction of REST API. REST is an architectural style. It's not a protocol. Okay. REST is not a kind of protocol. It is an architectural style, or it is also, we can call it as it is a separate design pattern or architectural pattern for communication purpose only. REST framework is open source, flexible, and fully featured library with modular and customizable architecture that aims at building of web APIs uses Python and Django. Using Python and Django only, we can build REST APIs flexible way and customizable way. Modification will be easy. Advantage of REST API DRF means DRF stands for Django REST Framework. DRF allows the flexibility to extend and customize the framework's tools according to programmers' demand. So it will be reduce development time greatly. And it also provides support of testing and debugging all these things. Okay. And powerful serialization mechanism is there, and also deserialization mechanism is there. Serialization engine is compatible with ORM and non-ORM data sources. ORM already be discussed in a Django point of view. ORM stands for Object Relational Mapper. So non-ORM in the sense, without ORM creation also we can deal with databases, no problem. Both the ways it will provide. Okay, Django REST framework will support with ORM as well as non-ORM. And easy customization validations are there, authentication systems are there. And mostly generic class-based views are there in the REST API for CRUD operations with the database. Clean and simple view of resources using Django's new class-based views are available here. And there are different types of APIs are there: private, partner, and public. As I mentioned, the types of APIs here. Types of APIs. What are the types of APIs? Private API is there. Partner API is there. Partner API. Public API. Private API means it can be used within the organization only. Means only particular organization point of view. If you want to generate APIs, then we can go for private API. Partner API means it can be used within the business partners. Suppose the multiple organizations can able to deal with same services with their customers, and they can go for partner APIs only. That means API can be able to shareable. Means different organization people can communicate with the customers request and response through same API only. So that is partner API. Public API means it can be used any third-party developers. So maximum in real-time applications, public APIs are there because services are completely free to the customers. Any application to any application, they can communicate, especially in the banking sector. That is public APIs only. How API is going to work? Generally, client send HTTP request to API. API will interact with web application, and web application will interact with database if it is required. And web application provides request data to the API only. API returns data to the client. Let me show you this in diagrammatic representation so that you'll get clear idea. So this PDF I'm going to send to you. once I complete demo session after today, along with first recorded video, you will receive this complete PDF also. So that in this PDF, I mention clearly all the stuff. This is REST API PDF only. Django REST framework. Now you can see how API works means this diagram clearly says that there are different types of applications are there. Python application is there, Java application is there, Django application is there. These application can communicate with REST API. REST API can communicate with respective web application. If this web application is needed any data from database, it can communicate with the database. That's what you can notice here. Client sends HTTP request to API. Clients can use into their premises like Python app, Java app, Django app. Any app they can use. And from any app, if they can send HTTP request to API, API will interact with web application. Web application will interact with the database if it is required. In case client is expecting some data from database, then web application will interact with the database if it is required. Web application provides required data to the API only. Who will give response to the API? Web application only. API returns data to the client only. So this REST API is acting as what? Middleman services. Means mediator. API responsible is what? Whatever the client is sending request, that will take, and same request will transfer to web application. And once we get the response from the database, web application required to give the response to the API, API will give response to the client only. Okay, how API works means this is. Now coming to this, REST API is an architectural style for an application programming interface that uses HTTP request to access and use the data only. Now just observe here, RESTful API. Why RESTful API we can call it as? See, REST API or RESTful API. Don't get confused here. RESTful API, REST API is not a different things. Both are same thing only. When web services use REST architecture, actually this is web service only. REST API, web API, RESTful services, or web services kind of thing. In olden days, people were used like web services, but nowadays, along with web services, they are using some architectural pattern like REST framework. That's what REST API we can call it as, or RESTful services, RESTful APIs also we can call it as. When web services use REST architecture, they are called RESTful APIs or REST APIs we can call it as. Okay, REST is an architectural pattern, I can say that. REST stands for representational state transfer. If we use REST, more flexible way we can prepare APIs compared to normal web services. So when the web services are using a technique called REST technique or REST architecture, that we can call it as RESTful APIs or REST APIs only. Now coming to this, a REST API is a set of web addresses that respond with pure information only. REST APIs will get the response from the server and it will provide that same response to the respective client only. API returns JSON or XML, which is a common format for all the application clearly. JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation, sir. XML stands for Extensible Markup Language. These two are open standard, means any kind of application can understand this style of architecture like JSON and XML format. But in our application, most of the cases, I am going to render the data which is coming from server to the client. I am going to use JSON format only. Now observe this diagram clearly. Client is here and RESTful API is there. It's a mediator and server is there. There are some request methods are there, like get method is there, post method is there, put method is there, even one more method is there, like patch method is there, and delete method is there. Get means to get the data, post means to insert the data, put means to update partial, patch means fully updated, delete means to delete. These methods are HTTP methods. We are sending from client to server. First, these methods will go to RESTful API request. Request goes to server. Server give response to RESTful API. Response will give to the client, but response will come from the REST API. In what format? JSON format. In Django architecture, okay, you already know the Django. Whenever we send request to the server in Django application, so server-side code will execute. Server-side code means Python views, like class-based views or function-based views. That server-side code will execute at server-side, and once the execution is completed, we have to give response to the client or not. So that response will come in which format in Django? Django template language format, DTL tool we use. Because there in Django, no HTML page can understand the server-side code. Even the response should come from server side means that should come in the format of client understandable format like HTML. So that's what we are using. We were used in Django application point of view like DTL template language, Django template language only. Why Django template language we were used there? Because client can understand only template language format only. Client cannot understand any other language format. But here also in REST API case, while getting the response from the server inside the client, we are using what format? JSON or XML format. Because server can give the response to the client in the format of JSON or XML only. Because this client also cannot understand server side code or API code. So ultimately it should convert into JSON and XML. JSON and XML, why sir? Why not DTL here? Because DTL can understand only Django application. But might be user can interact with any other application like Java application, Python application, any different type of applications are there. But DTL cannot understand by other application, no? So that's what the common application format is there, that is called JSON format or XML format. So JSON or XML are very common. Any technology or any type of application can understand this format only. That's what we are recommend to use JSON or XML. So this is the response always should be JSON and XML format only. So API returns JSON or XML, which is common format, I said. Okay. Now coming to, we can see all the information enclosed within the brackets like this. JSON format always inside the list by using square bracket. Inside the square bracket, we'll find out again some what we can say curly braces also. Now, what is JSON means? JSON is an open standard file format and a data interchange format that uses human readable text to store and transmit data objects consisting of attribute value pairs only. So whatever the data is coming from database, once the response is landed onto the client response, so that we can see JSON format only mostly. And JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation, is a standard text-based format for representing structured data based on JavaScript object syntax. So based on JavaScript object syntax only, we are representing structured data. That's what it is called JavaScript object notation, we can say. It is commonly used for transmitting data in web applications. For example, sending some data from the server to client. So it can be displayed on the web page only. So JSON format is a common language understandable format. And what is XML? Sometimes we can also use XML instead of JSON, sir. XML also, but in our case, I'm not going to use any XML. I'm going to use mostly JSON format only, sir. So XML is also okay because it is also open standard format only. XML stands for Extensible Markup Language. It is used to describe the data. The XML standard is a flexible way to create information formats and electronically shared structured data via the public internet as well as via corporate networks also, XML format. Now, these are the important HTTP methods, especially which we are going to deal with REST API only. Get method, post method, put method, patch method, delete method. In the Django context, we already know about get and post method, even delete method also. Get means to retrieve the data from database. Post means we can store or we can send data from client to server. And put means fully updation. Patch means partial updation. Means sometimes only some of the fields of employee or student we need to update. Then patch is required. And sometimes fully need to be updated. Total record need to be update means put method is required. Fully updatable purpose. And delete means deleting or removing. Now you can see here clearly I mentioned create means we can post the record. Creating or posting or inserting. Read means get only. Reading or retrieving or getting. Update means put, patch. So put means fully update. Patch means partial update. So both are required. Both the ways also we have to do all operations, especially CRUD operations. Delete means to delete or removing the records from the database only. So these are the methods are involving in Django REST framework clearly. Now API resource. That means generally when we are working with Django framework also, so on the URL section we will find URL name like HTTP localhost, okay, website name. So this is general scenario of API resource. Sir. In this resource, if I'm giving like numbering also, now you can see first number www.durgasoft.com. First number one is base URL. Base URL means which you are going to communicate. Durgasoft.com, for example. Slash API. Second number is naming convention. This is optional, not compulsory. Every time API is not required. And third one is very important, like endpoint or API resource only. That is trainers. Trainers is my endpoint or API resource. Here API is not compulsory, but endpoint or resources must only. Generally, when we deal with Django application also, first web address slash trainers or students are like that we have to give. This is what endpoint or resource only. So now this is just a basic introduction of REST framework clearly. Now let's try to install Django REST framework today. How to install Django REST framework now? First of all, I strongly recommend to create a Django project only. How to create Django project, you know that. So after creating project only, there we have to install it. So let's create a project here. Just observe. Let's go to PyCharm Professional Editor. It's same as Django only. You know already we worked with many times Django models, view, templates, URLs, everything. So that you, if you know, then it will be easy to understand. Only additionally, we are going to prepare some API kind of things. So today I'll show you clearly how to make setup and REST API project. After that, tomorrow onwards, we'll start writing coding part only. First of all, I'm just opening PyCharm Professional Editor. There I'm trying to create a new project with a name called REST API project. Let's try to create a new project here. It's not your project. It's previously which I was loaded. It's loading now, but I need to create your project here. Let's try to create a new project here. Project means just Django project only. It's not a different project. After creating Django project, you have to install REST API now. Let's try to create a new project. Go to PyCharm Professional Editor, click on File menu, click on New Project. You can choose the location, or else you can better to create a project at what command prompt through. No problem. Let's try to go to, let's go to command prompt. I can load there. Okay. Let's go to cd space desktop. On desktop, I'm preparing Django REST project. Okay. Create a new project. How to create Django project? You know that. Django -admin start project. Project name is REST project. REST project is created. Inside the REST project, we have to create application also. Oh, commander. Already a project is there with name REST project. Let's go for other name. Django -admin start project. My REST project. I'm giving my project name is look like. Let's move to my REST project only. How to move to my REST project? cd space my REST project. That's all. Inside this project, you have to create application. Python space manage.py start app REST app. So I'm preparing my application name is REST app. So application created, project created. No, where is there in my desktop? My REST project is there. Let's flip to PyCharm Professional Editor. Open your project, sir. This is better. Let's go to C drive, users, Lenovo, desktop. What is your project name? My REST project. Now you can see my REST project is there. I'm opening this project now. That's all. So after creating REST project clearly, you can see this. We created REST project clearly. Okay. Then next, if you are working with the REST API, okay, along with the Django project, compulsory we have to install REST API framework. So just normally we create a Django project, it's okay. But you are working with REST API, no? So that's what we have to prepare what? To install DRF, that is Django REST framework. First, we have to install Python and Django. It is compulsory because already Python is there in my computer, Django also there. Install DRF using PIP. Go to terminal and PIP space install space Django framework, REST framework. This is compulsory required. After that, include Django REST framework under installed apps of your settings.py. This is must have. So REST underscore framework you have to include. Then only Django server can recognize you are working with APIs only. What API? REST API framework. First, let's install PIP space install space Django REST framework. Where I have to install under this project means terminal. I have to go to terminal and install it. So PIP space install space Django REST framework. So this is without comma and spaces. PIP space install space Django REST framework. Sometimes you'll get already requirement satisfied because I have installed in my computer already. So that's why you can see requirement already satisfied, it is saying. But in your case, it will take a few seconds to install it. So already we have REST framework in my computer. No need to install. So all requirement already satisfied is there. But only one thing I need to do, immediately I should go to my project settings.py. Inside the settings.py, I should say to the Django server that I'm working with the Django framework. How I can say means under the installed app. Now you can see first we have to include your application name, REST API, REST app. Because application also need to be installed or no. REST app I'm taking. REST app. After that, you have included REST API also. So we have to use REST underscore framework. You can see whenever we install REST API in your project, then automatically IntelliSense says that REST underscore framework. This is compulsory required for every application from now on. Along with your application including REST underscore framework also required because you are working with REST API things now onwards along with Django project. So this is the making setup of REST API. Only just create Django project and go to settings.py, REST underscore framework you can add. your application name you can add. But before that, you can install REST API. How to install REST API? PIP space install space Django REST framework. So Django REST framework is a name. And Django REST framework also is having official website, sir. You know, official website of Python is what? Python.org. Official website of Django is what? DjangoProject.com. Then official website of Django REST framework is what? Django-REST-framework.org. Let's see this. Let's go to Google. Django REST framework I'm using. Now you can see this is the official website, www.django-rest-framework.org. If you want to go with any documentation officially Django REST framework related, you can go. Now you can see Django REST framework official website. This is maximum definitions and statements I have included in the PDF by taking from here only. Okay. So this is the official website. We have to follow rules and regulations of this official website through only. This is Django REST framework clearly. Got my point? So this is making setup of Django. From tomorrow onwards, actual coding will begin. Coding also, it's not a typical, sir. You know already view creation, model creation, template creation. That if you know, then it will be easy to handle it. But first, for the first initial stage, some coding will be somewhat complex because we are handling with JSON and XML format now. That is little bit complex, understandable format, but no problem. Slowly, once we reach to day by day sessions of REST API, finally we will reduce lot of code. Drastically, we will reduce the lot of code because by using built-in REST API classes are there. That is, built-in classes are there. Finally, same operations we will do within the 2 or 3 lines we can finish. But first, initially, for every operation, 10-15 lines of code is required because lot of conversions are there. Like serialization technique, deserialization techniques will come into the picture. And tomorrow you'll understand what is serialization and deserialization, how to create your first API, how to test API also we will discuss in tomorrow session. That's all for now. See you tomorrow at same time, same link only. Today you will receive this REST API soft copy of PDF material and session 1 video also. You can download it immediately.